So today we're contemplating the 58th gene key. Now if you haven't heard of the gene keys work, then there is a link at the end of this video that I highly recommend clicking, which will take you through to the official Gene Keys website, and you can download your own free profile, and there's a heap of free information there if you just take a few minutes to check it out. Now the 58th gene key that we're looking at today is responsible for governing the 58th codon of our DNA. And this is the part of our DNA that really determines whether we're operating from a place of vitality and life force in life, or whether we're operating in a survival mechanism. We're operating from the survival frequency of dissatisfaction. Now what this is speaking to, and what's really interesting, is that this 58th gene key lands in the last 6 days that goes around Christmas. We just finished it up yesterday, and today, as we stand on the doorway of the mystery of 2019, I thought what better time to flesh this out and look at how the last 6 days have been feeling and what it stirred up within us. And so when we look at dissatisfaction, that's the shadow frequency of this part of our DNA that is really fired up during the Christmas season. It's a survival mechanism that's designed to make us not feel comfortable with mediocre. It's the part of ourselves that won't let us rest in second best. It's the part that will continually push humanity to evolve and become stronger, to become better, to become more efficient, to become more beautiful, to constantly weave itself and to strive. So this shadow of dissatisfaction that many of you may have felt as you go into Christmas and pop out the other side, it comes from within and is a deep frequency that's there to help remind you where your heart lies and whether you are in alignment with your life force or not. Now what's really interesting is with the Christmas season, usually, especially in the Western world, comes this financial pressure, comes this whole family dynamic pressure where all of a sudden our workforces slow right back and a lot of people get holidays. They get a lot more time, which means they're spending more time with their partners, more time with their kids, more time at with their relations and the rest. And so often this starts stirring up inside and we start feeling this agitation, this real dissatisfaction that everything isn't good enough. And if you look up the definition of satisfaction, satisfaction is essentially meeting the expectations, needs, or desires of somebody, whether it's somebody else or yourself. So that's what comes when we meet the need of a project, for example, we then have a feeling of satisfaction at the end of the day. So dissatisfaction means that we feel like we're not meeting our needs and we're not meeting our expectations and desires. So if you've been experiencing dissatisfaction, then it's not something you want to get rid of, it's something you really want to listen to. And you can't remove this dissatisfaction feeling through any forceful actions, because all you're doing then is setting this expectation that dissatisfaction shouldn't be there, and now you have an expectation that it should be without, and you try to get rid of it, and whatever you do, it never really will meet your authentic needs and expectations. So the way through this feeling, this sensation, is to just really allow it to feel dissatisfied. And instead of reacting by looking straight out at the world outside of you and saying it's because of that, it's because of that, it's because of my boss at work, or it's because of my wife or my husband, or he's just not listening, or it's my kids, if only they would get along. All of a sudden this dissatisfaction starts creating all these ifs, all these, if only I had more money, I would be able to give so much more of myself. If only everyone would get along and listen to each other. If only I could be recognized, it would all work out okay. If only those kids would just make an effort to clean their rooms, it would make life so much easier. Dissatisfaction drives these if stories that go in our minds and start saying if only something, which then leads us into this future world where we think that life is ideal, and we think we know how it's meant to be, and takes us out of this moment, and our life force drops, we get agitated, and we get really ungrounded. And so when we move through this, really what's happening is this dissatisfaction is getting us loose. It's loosening up the internal worlds. And if we can, instead of projecting that dissatisfaction outside of the world, thinking that if we can change that, everything will be better, And instead, turn that dissatisfaction internally. Like, allow it to sit inside yourself instead of sending it out. And breathe into it. Just really feel that. What does it feel like to you? You know, that failure to meet your needs and your expectations. That feeling like you're not where you're meant to be. Because when you drop into that feeling, it will begin to lead you, like the root system of weeds. It will lead you into your mind and begin to show up and expose the belief systems that we still carry in the back of our heads that are governing our expectations, that are governing our idea of what we need in life and what we desire. And when we begin to allow that dissatisfaction to lead us back through looking inwards, then what begins to happen is we can then have the ability to reprogram how we perceive our reality, how you perceive your current situation. And then you begin to see, these are the belief patterns of what I think I need. This is the belief pattern of how I think my dreams are going to come true. And once we see how they are creating this turbulence, this feeling of dissatisfaction, we can allow them to kind of penetrate and it kind of explodes open, and we begin to see things differently. So you begin to, instead of thinking, I wish my boss would stop talking to me like that, or I wish that everyone would, then maybe, instead of being dissatisfied with how the workplace is, be dissatisfied with how you're dealing with it. And maybe then have a look at how maybe you can step up a bit more to the plate to take responsibility for the situation. Maybe having a good, authentic, solid conversation, which is terrifying as hell for many, I get that. But we need to work on our ability to communicate. We need to work on our ability to stand up for ourselves and to speak to each other in order to speak our truth of what we need. And if we can't speak to each other about what we need, then how on earth can they provide the environment to help support you? And so when we let go of needing to satisfy anyone else and we step up to the plate and have those difficult conversations with our partners, with our workplace and our children, etc. And I don't mean the difficult situation where we need to sit down and say, you're doing this wrong and I don't like when you do that. But that authentic conversation, that vulnerable conversation that says, listen, Mr. Whatever, or if they go by the first name, Mr. Boss, I've been feeling a little bit oppressed in this space. I feel a little bit cornered in my work at the moment, that I don't have the ability to speak and to contribute. Maybe it's, whatever it is, have that conversation, but come from a place of I feel, not you are. And then we can start stepping up to a place where we can start redirecting our life, letting go of how we think it was supposed to play out, and instead begin to pay attention right here and now. No longer projecting into the future, being dissatisfied that I'm not on the path I'm supposed to be going for, but become satisfied with where you are now. Become really deeply satisfied with the work you have done that's got you here, with the fact that you are not 10 years old still in some place, that you're not a crazy teenager, or maybe you are if you're watching this, but if you are, then maybe you're not a 5-year-old that's still having little tantrums. Give yourself credit for how far you've come to be here now. Bring yourself in and just be okay with that. Here and now truly is the perfect place to begin 2019. And as you move through this new year now, you do have an incredible opportunity. The whole collective mind, everyone on this planet is synchronized. Everyone in the Western world that follows a Gregorian calendar is synchronized that now the gates are open for change. We all become more relaxed and understanding if someone does something new. If you want to start running, if you want to start waking up earlier, everyone actually believes you might do it more than they do at any other point of the year. And everyone is much more likely to support each other at this time of the year. It's the biggest time for life coaches. It's the biggest time for everyone with New Year's resolutions. And it's a great time to listen to your dissatisfaction and really make the changes in your daily life that will help take responsibility for bringing yourself back on track again. And when you become back on track, then you will find life force pumping through you, excitement beginning to come alive. That's how you know if you are aligned with your purpose or not, is you will feel this deep passion, this excitement running through your body, this anticipation for whatever comes next. And no matter the challenge that comes along, it's no longer hard work. It now becomes an exciting puzzle to solve. When we come from this place of vitality, when we come from this place of really appreciating what we have and then finding a way of how we can use it to be of service out there in the world and help our fellow humans to find a life worth living. So may 2019 be everything you dreamed and more. May it surprise you with left and right turns that will lead you into the most mysterious segues and side paths. And may you enjoy the journey and find bliss in the mundane. And may we stop looking for the grandness of the future and begin to really appreciate the absolute awe-inspiring, mind-blowing reality that is here and now, as you and I are just one tiny person of billions of people on this planet, this clump of Earth flying through the galaxy, spinning around this giant molten ball of plasma. No one really even knows where or why or how. How magnificent is that? So let's make 2019 the year of living here and now and creating the life we want to live.